Hey guys, welcome to Yesterday's Coffee, the podcast where we chat about fitness, nutrition, and business all over coffee that may or may not have been brewed yesterday. Today, just in time for the holidays, we are going to be discussing how to eat during the holidays, specifically your Thanksgiving meals, Christmas, New Year's, all of that stuff, and how this relates to actually losing weight and achieving your fitness goals. Because obviously we know this time of year is very typical for people to put on 10, 15 pounds, and then come January 1st, we're kind of right back where we started. So we really want to talk through some specific things that you can try to do to minimize that and how to get through these times without totally sabotaging your results.
So where would you like to start?
So let's start with the fact that there aren't any real reason to be falling off your plan on days that aren't holiday celebrations. So I think one of the biggest pitfalls that people run into is thinking of Thanksgiving as all of November and Christmas as all of December, and basically just throw all of their healthy eating habits completely out the window for those 2 months, when if you look at it, we have a Thanksgiving meal, we have maybe you celebrate on Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, New Year's Eve, and New Year's. That would be 5 total meals that you have as far as like celebrations go, where, yeah, go out, celebrate, have a good time. But if you are eating the way that you should be and consistently on a solid plan the rest of the time, we're talking about 5 or 6 meals out of 120, 200 meals that might be less than optimal for your fitness goals. And if you're really sticking to things that well during this time frame, there's no reason why you shouldn't continue making progress all the way through into the new year.
So, question, what about the people who have multiple celebrations for each holiday? You have multiple sides of the family, you have a significant other, you have to go, celebrate a couple different places. That would then end up being more than 5 or 6 out of your November, December.
So maybe we double it. Maybe you're at 10. Maybe you're at 15. Okay. So even 15 meals out of 150, you're at 10%. And if you're doing things perfectly right 90% of the time, you're still going to see progress. I don't care how crazy you're getting with some of these meals. And I mean, that's really what I believe. What do you think?
I think that holidays are tough for a lot of people based on the fact that coming into the holiday season, like most people cycle through 2 different phases throughout the year. They are very, very strict. They deprive themselves during the spring and summer months for the sake of weight loss, and they get to the point where they are just so burned out by the time it gets to be the holiday season that they don't have any willpower.
Yeah.
They kind of just say, screw it. They do whatever they want. They feel like they can't plan ahead for things, but they're honestly just so mentally burned out from the whole diet aspect that they lose all motivation to stay on track. So even though they want to achieve a certain goal, they just mentally can't do it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think when you're cycling between these 2 phases throughout the year, it makes it really hard going into the holiday season. So I would honestly say, if that sounds like you, that your best case scenario is not to try to attempt a weight loss goal during the holiday season, but to try to think about fueling your body as best as you can and maintaining your weight. I would generally recommend pushing pause on a weight-related goal during the holiday season if you're somebody who has had a history of cycling back and forth between those 2 phases.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with that. I think it's definitely the hardest time of year to start especially weight loss goal.
Yes.
I don't think anyone can argue with that. Is it impossible? Absolutely not. So that's really kind of the point that I'm trying to make here. Is it can certainly seem overwhelming this time of year, especially if you've been following some sort of weight loss plan and you've been trying to lose weight up to this point, and maybe you're almost thinking of giving up until the first of the year. But if you break it down into the actual days that you're going to be off plan, I mean, even if you do have a bunch of different traveling around on Thanksgiving or Christmas or New Year's, whatever that may be, even if you stretch that out to the full week, you're talking about 3 bad weeks over the next 6-week period. And that's if you're going a full week bad for whatever reason. So that's absolute worst case scenario. Whereas I feel like most people, you're probably going to have between 5 and 10 obligations in that time frame, which is still something that you can absolutely maintain through. And if you prepare for it, you can still progress through.
Absolutely. And that's not to say, and I'm not trying to say that you can't see weight loss happen. I just think with a lot of the clients that I have personally, it's very hard depending on where your mindset is at, and also depending on when you potentially started following a program or if you're following a program.
Right.
Because I think the people who go into the holiday season already at very low calories, you're going to have a lot harder of a time seeing more weight loss than somebody who was maybe following, a sustainable program for a few months before the holiday season. So in that situation, so if you already came into the holiday season at very low calories, you would have to watch these meals a lot more closely than someone else might.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, it still comes down to that caloric deficit. And so if you've been running through a very low calorie plan that's keeping you at maintenance or slight weight loss levels, and then you start indulging in these holiday traditions where you typically have super high calorie foods, that's going to impact you significantly more than somebody that's starting at a higher caloric base, just because it's going to be that much more of a caloric surplus coming in that your metabolism isn't ready for. And I know we want to preface this with, we don't think that you should be trying to diet on those holidays at all.
No,
we're
absolutely not.
Not saying that whatsoever. You should be celebrating, having a good time. Because at the end of the day, 99% of people are not dieting for a date-specific requirement. Like, if it's a little different if you've got some sort of like competition or thing that you have a specific date you have to be doing this for. But in the grand scheme of fitness, weight loss, and overall health, you should be celebrating on days of celebration.
Absolutely. And I think that gives you a little bit more flexibility and freedom and takes off the burden of feeling the need to diet during the holiday season when you should be celebrating. So we do think that you should enjoy your holidays and you should enjoy time with friends and family. But if you do have a more specific goal, or if you have a good mindset where you're able to be a little bit more objective, then I would say that absolutely still possible to see weight loss happen through the holiday season. So if somebody does have a good mindset going into the holidays and they want to continue on a weight loss goal, what would your advice be?
So as far as the specific day of goes, so say we're talking about Thanksgiving here, and I'm laughing because we argued pretty heatedly about this.
We did.
And I think it's all context dependent, so I want to really flesh this out. On the day of a holiday, one of the tricks that I like to use, and again, this is just for that day. This is not a paradigm of eating to take with you for the rest of the year. I really like to fast before that meal. So, as an example, if Thanksgiving, my family typically eats around 1 or 2 o'clock. And so the way that I prepare for that huge meal is, first of all, I don't want to be holding back during Thanksgiving meal.
Sure.
Okay, I want to be eating everything that's there. It's once a year. I'm with my family, and I get to indulge in stuff that I would never otherwise touch. And so I'm going to save my calories for that meal. And I do that by intermittent fasting and holding off any meals up until that point. Now, me personally, I already pretty much do this every single day. I intermittent fast, and I don't typically have my first meal until around noon. But on Thanksgiving, I'm going to push that even further so that I can use those extra calories for that big meal, completely indulge, not have any worry or second guess about how much I'm consuming. And sure, I'm still going to be in a caloric surplus. I can pretty much guarantee that. But because I am basically saving my calories for later, I'm going to minimize kind of that spillover effect versus if I was having my normal meals earlier on in the day and then going for this whole blowout meal. So that's one thing that I like to do. Another thing to kind of augment that fast and really try to minimize kind of artificially minimize the extra crap that you're eating that day is fast up until that meal and then start by eating a really large dose of protein first. So in the context of Thanksgiving, that could be going for a really large portion of turkey. If you don't like turkey, then maybe you have a protein shake before you start eating the food. But something so that you've got some good quality nutrients in there that are already pretty satiating, and then you can dive into the other stuff. And that's going to have a little bit of a buffer into how much of the other stuff that you actually go for without making you feel like you've had to restrain yourself.
Okay, fair. I will give you all of that. I would like to say for the other 50+% of people watching who might not do well with that approach, I would say that, in my opinion, it might be a little bit better to try to listen to your body a little bit more. So don't intermittent fast or choose to fast if by fasting you're inherently going to have to fight your hunger or fight your blood sugar levels, because that approach takes into account really only calories.
Absolutely.
Right? We're looking only at calories in, calories out, and your, maybe your total calories for the week, your weekly average. But that doesn't really take into account hormones, blood sugar fluctuation, your own metabolic flexibility. So if you've never ever fasted before ever, and then you're just going to try and go in and fast for the time leading up to a Thanksgiving or a holiday meal, you might find yourself crashing. So that's, again, we're just speaking to everybody with this conversation. Your body might not be able to handle it, and that's okay. That doesn't mean that all is lost and now you're not going to be able to control your calories during that holiday meal. Again, we can still look at total, average calories for the week, but also just be mindful and be aware of how you feel if you're going to try for an extended fast. So if you're somebody, and you probably know this about yourself, who needs to eat, every few hours, or you feel like you have issues with blood sugar control or low blood sugars, then attempting a longer fast is probably not in your best interest. So for that reason, I would usually say to my clients to listen to their appetite earlier in the day and focus more on nutrient-dense foods. So, focusing more on your veggies, more on your protein, going a little bit lighter on carbs and fats, but still getting enough to make whatever meal you are eating satisfying, and then going into your holiday meal later on.
Yeah, so it's pretty much the same advice, a little different approach though. So whereas you're basically saying hit high protein meals and get veggies in prior to, and my approach is definitely the same thing. If you're really hungry, go ahead and eat something, and that's kind of the less extreme step that you can take, where you're not fasting, but you're basically saving all your carbs and fats for that meal. Same type of idea. Whereas
still looking to control your calories in that day or over a period of time, but not ignoring your hunger cues for the sake of a fast or to try and earn a holiday meal later.
Right. And I just want to put this in context, is this little strategy isn't really going to make or break anything. Over the course of the next 6 weeks, whether or not you do anything different within that holiday celebration, maybe we're talking about the difference of a few pounds here or there, which in the grand scheme of things is really nothing. But you could still see just as much progress, well, maybe not just as much, but a lot of progress over these next 6 weeks, even without those intraday tweaks. Even if you were just have the meal as you normally would, as long as you're getting back on track the next day. And
and not letting things snowball. I think that's another big part of this.
That's a huge part.
If you can leave those meals to those meals and then get right back on to eating to fuel your body and eating good foods.
Yeah, when Thanksgiving becomes Thanksgiving, and then leftovers. And
then another Thanksgiving meal, and then more leftovers.
And then we're out of food, so let's get a pizza because I don't feel like cooking.
Because we didn't shop.
And then it's Christmas, and then it's New Year's, and then you're up 15 pounds on January 2nd, and you're like, how do I lose this?
Yes. That's what we're looking to avoid. We're looking to, again, enjoy those holiday meals and celebrations to the fullest.
Absolutely.
But not forgetting that your body also has nutritional needs
Yeah.
that are maybe not going to get fulfilled if you have holiday leftovers for 6 weeks in a row.
Mm-hmm. And it's also not a bad thing to give yourself some leeway. So if you're not necessarily trying to lose weight, like I typically give myself like a 5-pound cushion for January. Like we go through December, we have a little bit of loose dieting in there.
Mm-hmm.
You can't even really call it that. It's I'm just a little bit more flexible because that time of year I get a lot of different treats that I love to have, and that's totally fine. Like if you want to put everything on the back burner, you're allowed to do that.
Yes.
You're allowed to do that.
You don't have to diet during the holidays. I think it's become kind of like this weird thing in our culture where it's like the main topic of conversation at every holiday meal where we're all stuffing our faces about how we shouldn't be stuffing our faces.
How many Thanksgivings have we gone to where all of our relatives are asking us nutrition advice?
Yes.
It's every year.
Yes. While they're, putting things on their plate and then like apologizing for it or don't look it. Like, don't look what I'm eating.
The best is like when I'll get chastised for what I put on the plate. It's like, oh, you're going to eat that? I was like, yeah, I am.
But what are you eating? Like, what do you eat? Which, again, like that's just to kind of put it out there and say, you do not have to diet during the holidays. Mm-hmm. But if you do want to diet during the holidays, don't let anyone else make you feel guilty about it. But it comes down to your own mindset and your own confidence about the choices that you're going to make.
Yeah.
So don't let anyone sway you either way. Go into every holiday celebration having made a decision about how you're going to eat that day and stick to it. But do it in a way that makes you feel good.
Mm-hmm. And just don't take it overboard and turn it into 2 months of just eating like total crap because you're not going to like the ramifications of that. It's one thing to give yourself some leeway, put on a pound or two, maybe 5 pounds, and then January get refocused and go back at it. But if you really are putting yourself in the position where you're up 10, 15 plus pounds, that's where we're getting a little too overzealous with the festivities, I would say.
Well, and I think another thing that gets people off track is they hit this first holiday and they see the resulting weight. They weigh themselves the next day, the day after Thanksgiving, and they see that the weight's already up. And so from there, they just stop caring. Mm-hmm. They're like, well, my weight's already up 5 pounds. Like, I'm going to go to this next party tonight, eat whatever I want.
In after Thanksgiving.
You have to understand that even, and this is even for people who are on a great program and they go into a holiday meal and they fast all day and they eat their meal at night. Like, even if you were doing everything set up well, you're still going to see a couple pounds up just because it's more than you normally eat at one time. Yeah. It's going to be more sodium. It's going to be, you might drink alcohol, all these factors that are going to cause you to retain water. And if you take stock in what that number is like the very next day, and that sets the tone for the rest of the month or the rest of the year, you're in a bad spot.
Yeah.
So don't weigh in directly after the holiday, but understand that even if you are trying to lose weight during the holidays, you can still see your weight come down within that week, but give yourself a time, like a time cushion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. There's no reason why you could gain 5 pounds on Thanksgiving and then the next day weigh in and be freaked out by it, or realize that it's mostly water retention. Maybe you gain a little bit of fat because it might have happened, but then by the end of the week, if you had just eaten normally, it'll be gone.
Yeah, and you could see a new low. So again, if you are trying to lose weight and you're setting yourself up correctly, you could still see that weight drop to a new low 4 or 5 days after that holiday meal.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that would be the ideal situation if you are going into the holidays trying to lose weight throughout, until the end of the year.
Yeah, definitely. So, change of topic here. What are your favorites from Thanksgiving? What are the first things going on your plate?
I love stuffing, which is basically just like savory bread pudding, right? So I love bread in any capacity. So
That's very true.
I love stuffing and I love mashed potatoes, but honestly, I love gravy.
Yeah.
So really all I want on my plate is stuffing, potatoes, and gravy, and then I'll eat a vegetable and I'll eat some protein. But those are my favorites.
Yeah, I'm going to make a lot of people upset and say I don't like turkey. I hate turkey. My
whole family hates turkey.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think I really like the taste of turkey as much as I just like the tradition of it. I don't know. It's just so comforting and nostalgic, like a big turkey roasted in the oven.
So I can't go without protein though, right? So I literally choke it down by I take my turkey.
Why don't you just drink some protein
and
shakes?
I do that too, but I take the turkey and I smother it in mashed potatoes so that I don't really taste it.
Yeah.
And
Well,
that's
yeah,
how
I mean, you gotta mix everything up anyway.
That's how I get my turkey down, and
Yeah.
then I get into the kind of the rest of the meal. And I love the stuffing. Huge sucker for pumpkin pie and sweet potato
I don't really
casserole.
like pumpkin pie very much, or sweet potato casserole. I don't. Okay, this is actually weird and it's going to contradict itself. I like sweet potato pie more than pumpkin pie, but I actually don't like sweet potato casserole, which I know sounds
How on
so
earth
weird.
Can you distinguish the differences?
I
between
don't
those?
know. In pie form, like a sweet potato pie, I think is so good. But then when you're trying to put like chunky sweet potatoes and like marshmallows and cinnamon and all this other, I don't like it.
That sounds
I
gross.
don't like it.
How could that possibly be good together?
It just, I don't like it. I don't know. So, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm excited for some stuffing. Does your family make good stuffing?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay. Just checking.
Yeah. We're gonna have you set.
Really,
Don't
even
worry
like
about
the
that.
box stuff, I will just devour.
Yeah,
So
there's gonna be plenty for you. So I hope you guys found those tips useful. Really, if there's anything to pay attention to, it's enjoy the holidays and then get right back to normal.
Get right back on track.
You do that, that's all you need to worry about. If you want to try those more advanced strategies within the holidays themselves, you're welcome to. But again, it's not inherently necessary.
And you don't need to lose weight during the holidays if you don't want to.
Yeah.
And you don't have to explain to anybody why you have something on your plate.
Right.
So don't feel bad about it. Enjoy your holiday foods.
And if you do want to lose weight during the holidays, don't feel bad about that either.
No, absolutely. Whatever your choice is, just be resolute and confident about it.
Yeah,
and
you can do it.
Yeah, absolutely. You can do it.
So I hope you guys enjoyed this one. If you've got any questions or topics you'd like us to cover in the future, feel free to reach out to myself at HypertroFit.com. You can find Alexa at therootedRD.com, and we'll see you guys again next week.
We'll see you guys next week.